I've been drafted.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States.
That's the way to swat the swastika.
Enemies of democracy, beware.
You're in the Army now.
Is this trip really necessary, son?
Put out those lights!
Tonight, ToonHeads presents The Wartime Cartoons.
Of course, you know this means war.
We've often thought of Bugs Bunny, Popeye, Daffy Duck, and Superman as real heroes. And the truth is, they are.
Ta-da-da!
Your favorite cartoon stars defended the United States during World War II, sometimes taking on enemy leaders face to face. They were soldiers, sailors, Marines, and secret agents. They sold war bonds, planted victory gardens, and collected scrap metal. They gave comfort and advice to frontline soldiers and home front audiences. Tonight, we declassify some of the best-kept secrets from World War II as ToonHeads takes a look at The Wartime Cartoons. The perils of wartime battle have been the subject of animated cartoons since the beginning of film. Like these scenes from What Price Porky, many early cartoons made use of animation's ability to exaggerate the horrors of war in a humorous fashion.
Oh, that's loud. Nobody, boss, but us chickens.
December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy.
When Japan attacked Pearl Harbor and forced the United States into World War II, the subject of war could no longer be dealt with lightly. America was gearing up for the fight of its life.
We will fight our country's battles on the land as on the sea.
While war cartoons had been created before Pearl Harbor, it wasn't until after America entered World War II that cartoons about war became much more patriotic.
That's the way to swat the swastika.
The urgency of the war quickened the pace of the American lifestyle, and that was reflected on the screen in cartoons created by directors Bob Clampett, Chuck Jones, and Tex Avery.
Thumbs up, Doc. Thumbs up.
Tex was known for his fast-paced, zany, anything-for-a-laugh style. In early 1942, he moved from Warner Brothers to MGM and created a series of animation masterpieces starring Red, the cartoon bombshell, and her constantly howling admirer, the wolf. But Avery's very first cartoon at MGM was a war cartoon starring the wolf and the three little pigs entitled Blitz Wolf. The cartoon was not only a zany assault against Adolf Hitler and Nazi Germany, but it also made fun of Disney's most popular cartoon short of the 1930s, The Three Little Pigs. Avery went so far as to cast the same voice actor, Pinto Colvig, as the voice of his bricklaying practical pig.
You fellas can laugh, but you'd better quit playing around and get down to work.
Colvig was best known as the original voice of Disney's Goofy, nominated for an Academy Award and rarely shown since World War II. Here's Tex Avery's Blitz Wolf. We'll be back in a moment to ToonHeads, the wartime cartoons. But first, a trivia question. Who wrote the Bugs Bunny War Bond theme?
Any bonds today?
bonds of freedom, that's what I'm selling. Any bonds today. Scrape up the most you can. Here comes the freedom man, asking you to buy your share of freedom today.
We'll return in a moment with the answer on ToonHeads, the Wartime Cartoons. Welcome back to ToonHeads, the Wartime Cartoons. During World War II, Bugs Bunny sang a war bond song. Who composed that famous tune?
The tall man with the high hat will be coming down your way. Get your savings out when you hear him shout, "Any bonds today?"
Any Bonds Today was just one of many patriotic songs composed by the great Irving Berlin. Now back to ToonHeads, the Wartime Cartoons.
No. No, I can't do it. I can't go through with it. No. No, it would be treason.
But you must do this for me. I can't go back without them. Please. Please.
Oh, very well. Here. That'll be 50 cents.
World War II changed the way Americans did everyday activities. Certain items became scarce, like rubber, sugar, gasoline, even meat. Many Americans did their patriotic duty by planting victory gardens. Homefront gardens helped ease the nation's food shortage and allowed more food to be sent to our troops overseas. Not only did citizens plant victory gardens, but they were also encouraged by the government to conserve fuel for the war effort and to minimize needless trips.
I almost forgot. None of us civilians should be doing any unnecessary traveling these days.
During World War II, the government made sure Americans received their fair share of food and gas by issuing ration stamps. It might have been hard on the home front, but animators found humor in the situation.
Sorry, folks. We ran out of gas.
Yeah, you know how it is with these A-cards.
There was a sense of paranoia around the country about possible enemy bombing raids, particularly on the east and west coast. To prepare for Japanese and Nazi attacks, regular air raid drills were conducted.
I see an unidentified object flying around my widow head.
Blackouts were a major part of air raid drills, and folks were constantly being told to
Turn off that light!
Put those lights out!
Put out those lights!
Turn out those lights!
Another aspect of life on the home front was scrap metal drives. Cartoon characters quickly joined the crusade to recycle scrap metal for the war effort.
Here's some scrap iron for Japan, Moto.
Director Frank Tashlin enlisted the help of Daffy Duck to remind audiences of the importance of junk to the war effort and what it means to be an American. This rarely seen black and white cartoon is Daffy's finest wartime performance. And now, the 1943 classic, Scrap Happy Daffy. ToonHeads, the Wartime Cartoons, will return in a moment. But first, here's another trivia question. Animators usually drew ... after the V is for victory sign. What did it mean? We'll be back with the answer on ToonHeads, the Wartime Cartoons. If you know the answer to our trivia question, raise your hand. Dash is Morse code for V. Animators often drew the code after the V is for victory sign. In fact, when you see the code, you often hear the opening notes to Beethoven's Fifth. And now we return to ToonHeads, the wartime cartoons. After Pearl Harbor, Hollywood's animators changed their focus from making fun of Army life to getting laughs out of America's newest enemies.
It should happen to Hitler.
The cartoon medium allowed artists to caricature the enemy in outrageous ways.
Hey, Dolph, speak to me!
Stereotypes were established to quickly differentiate between the Allies and Axis powers. The cartoonists' main targets were the enemy leaders. Germany's Hitler, Japan's Hirohito,
To apologizing like a Dickens!
and Italy's Mussolini. In the cartoon, Tokyo Jokio, Japanese stereotypes were particularly cruel. In these uncensored scenes from the cartoon, the Japanese were not portrayed fairly or accurately. To add injury to insult, cartoon superstars Bugs Bunny, Popeye, and Superman also attacked the Japanese. These cartoon characters personified the American spirit and our feelings toward the enemy during the Second World War.
Japs, hundreds of them.
Friz Freleng took America's greatest cartoon hero, Bugs Bunny, and put him in the middle of Germany's Black Forest, where he could heckle a hunter screwier than Elmer Fudd, the Nazi minister, Hermann Goering.
Heil Hitler.
This wartime cartoon marks the first time Bugs makes his now famous wrong turn.
Say, you know, I knew I should have made a left turn at Albuquerque. Black Forest, huh? Ah!
And now, hair meets hair. ToonHeads, the wartime cartoons will be back in a moment. But first, a trivia question. Many wartime cartoons had gags with the symbols 4F and 1A. What did these classifications stand for? We'll return in a moment with the answer on ToonHeads, the wartime cartoons. Welcome back to ToonHeads, the wartime cartoons. During the war, every young man had to take a physical as part of his induction into the armed forces.
Holy cats, I've been drafted!
1A meant you were in perfect physical condition and ready for combat training, while 4F meant you were unsuitable for military service. Now back to ToonHeads, the wartime cartoons. Films were the quickest and easiest way to bring America to the front lines, and Hollywood animation went to war with our fighting forces overseas.
Give me that pea shooter.
Warner Brothers provided the Army with a series of humorous instructional films featuring Private Snafu, a typical soldier who frequently made the wrong decision. Many of the early Snafu cartoons were written by Theodore Geisel, also known as Dr. Seuss. These cartoons were very popular with the soldiers. Over the course of 2.5 years, 26 Snafu cartoons were created for our boys in green. Many classic gags used in Warner Brothers cartoons were originally written for Private Snafu. During the First World War, several fables were told about little men who sabotaged aircraft. But it wasn't until the Second World War that children's author Roald Dahl coined the term gremlins in his fairy tale book.
Gremlins. Oh, murder.
Walt Disney planned to create an animated movie about gremlins.
Yeah?
Yeah.
But the project never got off the ground. Bob Clampett was so fond of this fable that he created 2 cartoon shorts about the little saboteurs. The first had Bugs Bunny battle a zany gremlin aboard a runaway plane. It was originally entitled Bugs Bunny and the Gremlin, but it was released as Falling Hair. For his next gremlin film, Clampett decided it would be funnier to have a plane full of gremlins.
We're gremlins from the gremlins.
To make the cartoon even more appealing, he would have them attack someone the audience really wanted destroyed. In this case, Adolf Hitler. In Russian Rhapsody, many of the gremlins are actually caricatures of Clampett's co-workers at Warner Brothers.
Send their heavy bombers down to earth in teeny bits. Napoleon and his armies in their Führer's face. We're here, we're there, we're everywhere. We're in the Nazis' hair. We are Russian gremlins. Up in
In
the
fact,
sky we're
look
flying.
closely and you'll see Clampett created a caricature of himself,
We snack right to the ground.
originally entitled Gremlins from the Kremlin. Here's Bob Clampett's wartime masterpiece, Russian Rhapsody. ToonHeads The Wartime Cartoons will be back in a moment. But now for our final trivia question. Who approved the storyboards for the Snafu cartoons?
Okay, get ready for the devastating news.
The answer when we return in a moment to ToonHeads The Wartime Cartoons. You're watching ToonHeads, The Wartime Cartoons. Here's the answer to our last trivia question. Security and secrecy were so strict during the production of the Snafu cartoons that the United States Pentagon insisted on approving all cartoon ideas and storyboards. Now back to ToonHeads, The Wartime Cartoons. World War II ended on August 14, 1945, with the surrender of the Japanese. Our cartoon stars went back to work on American soil. Bugs returned to outwit Elmer. Daffy took on new villains. And Popeye resumed his battles with Bluto. Because of their dated propaganda and outrageous stereotypes, many of these cartoons are no longer shown on television. But the impact they had on the American public cannot be minimized. With skill, humor, and optimism, these wartime cartoons helped Americans through our darkest hours. They served our country well and deserve a Medal of Honor. From Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, and Popeye, to Bob Clampett, Tex Avery, Chuck Jones, and all the rest, we salute you. Watch these and other great cartoons right here on Cartoon Network.